Fatiha for the soul of our beloved Dr. Abdul Hussein Nawab, son of Isa Nawab. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik Yawm ad-Din. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين الأبرار الميامين المظلومين المضطهدين السلام عليك وعلى ولدك المظلوم أبي عبد الله الحسين يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا غريب يا مظلوم يا عطشان كربلاء ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ والتجأ إليكم يا ليتنا فيا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تقف ما ليس لك به علم إن السمع والبصر والفؤاد كل أولئك كان عنه مسؤولا ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إنك لن تخرق الأرض ولن تبلغ الجبال طولا آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. My dear brothers and sisters, I offer my deepest condolences on the passing of a remarkable human being. A human being who I had the distinct honor and privilege of meeting more than a decade ago, and who I would regularly see and encounter at one of the centers here in North Carolina. And I was distinctly privileged to share in those programs in which he would deliver speeches in Farsi, although I don't understand Farsi. But in his recitation of the Holy Quran and in his supplication, his du'as that he would do in the prayers, I know that I distinctly was blessed and I felt honored to be amongst his company. And I feel that today we sit not only to commemorate him and to remember him as a human being, but to recognize what it means to lose somebody who is a scholar, somebody who has dedicated their life to spreading the word of God. And in doing so, the spread of the word of God must be tied into the spread of goodness and blessedness and compassion for every human being that it finds. And that's what you felt from him anytime you met him, that you felt this overwhelming positivity, this overwhelming feeling of love for God. And that's why when someone asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam that the status of a scholar, someone of knowledge, what is it? Rasulullah, it is reported, had said that we cannot understand, we cannot fathom what it means to lose a scholar, what it means to lose a human being who has so much knowledge, because the void and the empty place that they leave in this earth cannot be just taken by any ordinary person. It cannot be filled by any ordinary person because the impact that this individual had. And because knowledge is the basis for our lives, whether we talk from the perspective of religion or we talk from the perspective of anything else, from the most trivial to the most important and critical, knowledge is everything. And that's why even the colloquial phrase that says knowledge is power, indeed, knowledge is power. It is empowerment of your life and in the understanding of how you must live your life and the direction that your life is going to take. That's why Allah encourages us, admonishes us, pushes us towards learning knowledge. And it was the message of the prophets and the messengers who came, who arrived on this earth. And not only arrived on this earth, but came as bringers of good news that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to give. And you see in the Holy Quran, it is mentioned very, very clearly that رُسُلًا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ لَإِلَّا يَكُونَ لِلنَّاسِ عَلَى اللَّهِ حُجَّةٌ. That Allah says that we sent these messengers down to you. They came with good news. They came to give you hope. They came to tell you of this great reward that was awaiting you. But they also came to warn you. They also came to give you a warning that if you don't watch the aspects of your life that can easily fall out of your own control, that you will find yourself to be in a place where you may not want to be. You will find yourself to be at a loss, and not at a loss materially, not at a loss of losing your wealth or your possessions or your home, but at a loss such that you find yourself purposeless. You find that you have lived your life 40, 50, 60, 70 years of your life, and that you have no purpose. That you look back on this life and you say, what did I achieve? And yet, even more importantly, when I die and I go from here, what will I carry forward? What will I take with me to that next world? What will I bring with me? What will I have sewn into the fabric of my own existence such that I can reap it after I fall into that dark grave that awaits every human being? That is a part of the basic nature of what it means to be insan, to be human being. And that's why knowledge is so key. And the verse of the Quran that I mentioned to you, it talks about acting on knowledge. And it says very clearly, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. Do not act on things that which you have no knowledge on. Do not do things that you do not understand and you have no knowledge on. And it's strange, my dear brothers and sisters, that this aspect applies for our physical life. That God forbid tomorrow, if I need surgery, if I need some treatment that requires a great level of skill and expertise, am I going to go to some ordinary person who has no training, no knowledge, no understanding of the mechanisms of the human body and ask them to cut me open and to treat me and to do intricate surgery or apply intricate treatment that will save my life or not save my life? There is no way any human being will put their life, their physical life, in the hands of a novice, in the hands of somebody who has no knowledge. You will go to the best of best for the treatment of your disease. You will go to the best of the best if you want to build a house and you want the house to be sound structurally and have a foundation that is unshakable so that when the storms come, the roof doesn't fly off. You will go to the best engineers for the building of your roads. You will go to the best financial advisors for your investments and your banking and your material life. But when it comes to your spiritual self, when it comes to transferring from this physical world and moving to a world that is beyond that, we will relegate ourselves to innuendos, to doubt, to guesses, and to seeking recourse in those who have no knowledge. And that's why God says you do it for everything. You seek in the life of this world everything based on knowledge, based on education, based on the more you know, the better you will do. And yet, when it comes to me, you do not seek such excellence for yourself. You do not seek such a high standard of what you want to achieve. You go based on what you think may be good or may not be good when you yourself have no knowledge. And that's why the Quran says that realize that if you act without knowledge, you will face consequences. And not only that, that your vision, your hearing, and your intellect, your inner cognitive self will have to answer. And we know this, that this is so common sense that if I eat poorly and go against the recommendations and the advice of the experts in nutrition, who's it going to harm? It's going to harm me. I will have high cholesterol, I will have heart disease, God forbid, and I will suffer the consequences of those things. I will face it. But why does that not apply also to our spiritual self? Why does that not also apply to those things that will cause my very soul to shake and to tremor in the life of this world? And that can be anything, my dears. That can be seeing violence in the world around me. That can be seen as the mistreatment of those who have no voice of their own. That can be me seeing the disenfranchised in society who are being trampled upon, and if I don't act upon championing their cause or helping them in some way, that indeed I am facing a spiritual deficit, that which I cannot come out of, that which will have ramifications to my own self beyond just the life of this world. Because indeed the body will die, the body will be placed into the grave and will become dust, but the soul will continue. The self will transfer into the next world and it will reap whatever has been sown in the life of this world. And that's why when the man came one day to Rasulullah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he asked him, he said, "O Prophet Muhammad, which of those acts are the acts that hold the greatest merit? What action of a human being has the greatest merit?" Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he said, knowledge of God and knowing the code of God, the religion of God on which you should live. The man looked at him and he says, "O Rasulallah," he said, "I asked you about which action has most merit. I didn't ask you about what you should know or not know. I asked you about action. What should a person do physically, practically, such that it would warrant a high merit?" Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he says, "You did not understand the answer." He says, because a little bit of action with a lot of knowledge behind it has a lot more merit than a lot of action that is done without thinking and understanding and cognizance. Know what you are doing such that your actions become quality and not just sheerly quantity. Understand and make it deep with knowledge. That's why you see the worth of the scholar. That's why you see a man of knowledge, a woman of knowledge, who in society enrich the lives of other people. They not only create the transfer of information, because indeed that's what it's about. That if I teach you a little bit of information, how to do a math problem, how to read a certain language, how to do rudimentary things based on some information, that's fine. You have transferred that information. But beyond that, what is most weighty and what is most significant is the enrichment it has created inside of the student. Knowledge is not just about transfer of information, it's about the enrichment of the path of our lives so that we can seek improvement in everything we do. That's why today, even those who are disenfranchised in society, yes, you can give the charity of money, you can give the charity of food, you can give the charity of warm blanket on a cold winter night, But is there anything more weighty and more profound than going out and teaching someone who is disenfranchised, giving them knowledge, giving them expertise, giving them a chance to acquire a skill by which they can enrich the rest of their lives? Because indeed, that food, as good as it is and as profoundly helpful as it is, once you eat it and it's digested, it is gone. But that knowledge that you gave them, that you taught them, that you instilled inside of them, they can use that now for the rest of their lives. And if they are truly good people, they can pass it on to others. They can use it so that other people will benefit from that knowledge. That knowledge, my dears, it must be matched with other things. It must be combined with other qualities. And that's why when I think about our beloved, our marhum Dr. Nawab, may Allah's mercy be upon him, showered upon him, and fill his grave, that I think about this very next thing that I will tell you about. And I'm not going to take too much of your time, but to say that knowledge without akhlaq, without morals and ethics, is meaningless. Knowledge without the proper characteristics of a human being has no meaning inside of them. That's why you can see people of so called knowledge, people who are considered to be scholars by some, but who do not demonstrate the sensibility, the compassion, the softness of heart, the awareness of the world around them that warrants them being called a scholar. And that's why when you look at a scholar, you know. And that's why even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam is reported to have said, النظر إلى وجه العالم عبادة, that looking at the face of a scholar is a worship. Just to look at the face of a scholar is a worship. And so one day, some people came to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. They said, "Oh Ali, Prophet Muhammad, he said this thing. It is reported that he said that to look at the face of a scholar is like a worship. It's like a worship to look at the face of a scholar. What does that mean?" Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, he says it is because when you hear their words, the words of knowledge that they are telling you, it reminds you of your finite nature. It reminds you that you will leave this world and that eventually you must go somewhere else. Eventually you have to transfer to some place that is permanent. Why is this so significant? Because we only see, we only believe, we only know to be certain that which our physical senses can see. I can see the food in front of me, I know it is there. I live the life of this world, I know it is real, it is reality. I see my family, my children, my job, the source of my income, and I know it is real. But I do not believe in the next world. I do not believe in the paradise that has been promised to me by God because I cannot see it with my physical eyes. I do not believe in what lies beyond the physical realm because my physical senses cannot see them, they cannot perceive them, they cannot sense them. And yet, that's what God is challenging us with, that open the eyes of your heart. And that's why He says, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ. Do not act on anything that you do not have knowledge about, and realize that your vision, physical, your hearing, physical, and also your hearts are going to have to answer. Your heart, that heart, not the physical muscle that is in your chest, but your sensibility, your cognitive ability, your ability to sense that which is not physical, your ability to sense that which is beyond the realm of this world is also going to be asked about. And we spend our lives focusing on the apparent and we forget about that which is hidden away. We focus on the outward and we forget that which is hidden inside of us, that is deeply intrinsically held inside of us. They say that people, when they used to die and pass away in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam, that the Prophet would come and he would say to them, Ajrakum min Allah, that your reward is from God. And that when asked, it is reported, he said, that I say this to the bereaved, to the family, to the close ones of the one who has departed this world, because there is no way that your reward is from God there is no way to give them the proper condolence they deserve. There is no way to show them empathy in the way that is befitting this condition, because only they know what they feel from the loss of this individual. Only they can feel the profound emptiness that has been left in that place in their heart that this person used to occupy and now is gone. And only Allah, only God sees what they are going through, and only God will reward their patience and what they are feeling and what they are sensing. And that's why, again, when you look beyond the physical of this world, and this is where knowledge comes in, this is where belief in something comes in, you know that it will take you to a place where peace, tranquility, the suffering of this life of the world is gone. It does not exist. It has been pulled away from you. And the scholar is an indication of that. And indeed, Dr. Nawab, may Allah have mercy on him, was that, not just because of his knowledge, but because of the qualities that he had inside of him. They say that one day a companion of Al-Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam, our sixth Imam, he came to visit. His name was Abu Basir. Abu Basir came to Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, and he said to the Imam, I have come to visit you, my Imam. I have come from such and such a place. Imam As-Sadiq, after speaking to him a little while, he asked him, he says, we have a companion of ours. His name is Abu Hamza Thumali. He is a very well-known companion. He lives in that town where you are coming from. Tell me, how is he doing? What is the news about him? Abu Basir, he tells Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam that he is not in a good state. He is close to the end of his life. He is suffering a lot. He is in a lot of pain. Imam As-Sadiq, he says to Abu Basir, he says, "O Abu Basir," he says, "go to back to him, give him my salam. Tell him that I bid my salam upon him, and then tell Abu Hamza, tell our friend that he is close to leaving this world, and that he will depart from this world at such and such a time and in such and such a place, and that to take solace in the fact that he is leaving the temporary life of this world to go to the permanent life of the next world." Abu Basir, he asks Al-Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam, he says, "O grandson of the Prophet," he says, "Abu Hamza is one of the most cherished human beings amongst us. He is a scholar. He is a man of knowledge. He is loved by the Shia of the Ahl al-Bayt." He says, when we needed solace ourselves, we would go to him. He says, how is it that we can find ourselves to get over the difficulty of losing him, of him eventually leaving this world? Al-Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam, he says, because you should know that what is with God is better than what you find here in the life of this world. What you have waiting for you in the riyadh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that place with the most infinite of givers, the most compassionate of givers, the most wise of givers, it is much better than anything that is relegated to the life of this world. However, you must ensure that you have the right qualities. Abu Basir asks Al-Imam As-Sadiq, he says, what are those qualities? Al-Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam, he says, you must have fear of God. Don't fear anything, only fear God. He says, you must ensure that you are on the path of his prophet. You must ensure that you walk the life that is righteous and proper, moral and ethical. And you must ensure that you focus on your own self, your own shortcomings and your own sins, and fix those deficits that are inside of you, so that every step you take, you have improved and you have become a better person. That's why it is not just about knowledge, my dears. It is about knowledge and ethics, knowledge and behavior, knowledge and manners. And that's why the verse of the ayah, the verse of the Quran that I mentioned for you, that do not speak or act on things which you have no knowledge about. Your vision, your hearing, your insight from your heart are all going to be answerable the very next verse of the Quran. It says, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضَ وَلَن تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالَ طُولًا. Do not walk in the world with insolence. Do not walk in the world haughty and arrogant and your head up in the sky as if you're something. Be humble. Be humble, because all of these tracts in the earth, you are not the one who has made them. You will not be able to rip open the earth. You will not be able to scale the mountains. There is nothing that you will be able to do. Humble yourself. You may have knowledge, you may have know how, you may have understanding, but unless you combine it with humility, unless you combine it with modesty, unless you combine it with mannerisms by which people want to come towards you, you will not have done any justice to that knowledge, and by any means will there be any benefit to that knowledge. That is where we find ourselves today. And that's why today, when we think about our own lives, we must think about how we can enrich those lives through closeness of God, through selflessness, through living a life for the benefit of others rather than just the benefit of ourselves and our own. By living a life that seeks to be aware of the plight of others, open our eyes to the world, such that as long as I have what I need, I don't care about anybody else, or the plight of someone else is meaningless to me because it doesn't affect me personally. This is not the way knowledgeable people behave. This is not the way people of scholarship and understanding behave. The true scholars, the true knowledgeable ones, are the ones who live the life of knowledge from A to Z, from start to finish. They begin with their mannerism, their ethics, the way they do things, and they finish with a global, a communal, a social benefit, and a blessedness that spreads to everyone around them. And they do so with self sacrifice. They do so by giving of themselves every little piece that is the most benefit that can reach anybody. And that's why the Holy Quran, it says so poignantly, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will not achieve even a measure of goodness until you give of that which you love. My dear brothers and sisters, when we give, if I have $1 million in my bank account, giving $100 is meaningless. If I have 3,000 shirts sitting in my closet, giving four of them away is meaningless. But what if I only have one piece of bread to eat and I have not eaten for 3 days? Giving that bread away is so meaningful because it's the only thing I have. And you see that this is the legacy of the most knowledgeable. It is related that Fatima al-Zahra, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, once she came to her father and she said, "My father, the Prophet of Islam, my two sons, Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, they are sick. They have been sick." Rasulullah, he said, "Oh, my daughter, go home, make a vow, pray to God. Make a vow to God that if He heals them, He cures them of their sickness, that you will fast, and you will fast for 3 days." They say that Fatima al-Zahra alayha salatu wassalam, she goes home, she makes the vow to God that God, please cure my two sons, make them better. They've been sick. And in addition to her, her husband Ali ibn Abi Talib and the helper who was in the house, Fidda, they all made the same vow. It so happened that God answered their prayers, that He healed, He cured Al Hassan and Al Hussein. And so now came the time to fulfill the vow. The first day came, the three of them, they fasted. They fasted. And they fasted the entire day. When the time came to open their fast at the end of the night, and they were about to eat, there was a knock on the door. The door opened, they opened the door, and a man was standing there, destitute and poor. They looked at the poor man. The poor man said, "I am one of the poor people of Medina, of the city of Medina. I have nothing to eat. Will you not feed me?" Now, it is a strange circumstance that this man ended up at this door, at the door of Ahl al-Bayt, the door of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. They took the only pieces of bread that they had to open their fast and they gave it away to the poor man and opened with measly amounts of water and some other things. Second day, they fasted again. And again, at the end of the night, when they are about to open their fast, again there is a knock on the door. And again, they open the door, and a young child is standing there, a poor person is standing there. He says to them, "I am an orphan of Medina. I have nothing. Will you please spare something for me?" they again picked up whatever little food they had and they gave it away to this orphan. Again, on the third night, they fasted all day. Came the time for them to open their fast, and again, there is a knock on the door, and the door is open, and another third individual is standing there, a stranger. He says to them that I am one of the wayfarers. I have left my home. I am far from my hometown. I have no means of getting home. I am hungry. I am destitute. Will you not help me? And again, whatever little they had, they took it and they gave it away to this individual. And they again opened their fast on a little bit of water and something measly and small. And that's why when the verse of the Quran came down about these individuals, this very event, what did it say? It says, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. The verse came down saying that when someone came and asked them that what compensation do you want for your selflessness? What compensation do you want for these great acts of generosity? They said, we want nothing from you. We expect the reward of the greatest of givers, and that is Allah. That what He will give us is bigger and more immense and more valuable and everlasting than any compensation we can accept from anyone in the life of this world. This is the way we have to live. And this is the way we have to make ourselves with the knowledge, with the understanding, and hopefully with the awareness and the awakening of our hearts to see the world around us. Because this is the legacy of scholarship. And we finish always these majalis hazar. And I remember that Dr. Navab, whenever he would visit us, it would be the nights of Muharram, in which we were remembering the legacy of Al-Imam Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. And so we finish remembering our dearly departed, our marhum, the one who we cherished in our hearts, and we connect our sorrow for that loss to the sorrow of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and recount the events of Karbala, recount the events of the 10th day of Muharram, the day of Ashura. My dear brothers and sisters, on that day, Al-Imam al-Hussein, the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, the son of Fatima al-Zahra, he had arrived into Karbala, into this desert. And now his tents with 73 of his companions, 72 of his companions, his women, his sisters, his daughters, the children, in this tiny little encampment are surrounded by 30,000 soldiers, all who will not allow them to pass, will not allow them to go away, will not allow them to live freely, will not allow them to have a life of tranquility. He comes to his companions and he says to his companions that, go, I have released you from your pledge to me. Go. And the companions all stayed, all waited there. One companion, my dears, had come late to the encampment. They say that Imam Hussein had been standing when the dust was rising up in the desert, and they saw someone arriving from the city of Kufa. When they saw him coming near, they went to Imam Hussein. They said, oh, Imam Hussein, there is someone coming to us. He is riding. Imam Hussein, he says, don't worry, I know who that is. I have been waiting for him. He is coming because I have been waiting for him. They say as he arrived, he turned to the others who were part of his caravan. He said, here is Habib ibn Madahir. This companion of Imam Hussein, I mention him tonight because we as the followers of Ahl al-Bayt want to emulate these people of knowledge. Habib ibn Madahir arrived from Kufa. And not only did he arrive from Kufa, but he came and he fell down at the feet of Imam Hussein. He said, my master, Ya Hussein, I come to you with a heavy heart that it took me so long to join you, to join your ranks, to be at your side, to defend you in Karbala, to defend truth and justice and human dignity. Imam Hussein, he raised his companion up, he hugged him, he embraced him. They say Habib ibn Madahir, he asked Imam Hussein, he says, oh Imam Hussein, will you allow me to go and say salam to the daughters of Fatima al-Zahra? The sister of Imam Hussein, Zainab, was there in the encampment. He asked, he says, will you give me permission? Imam Hussein gave him permission. Habib ibn Madahir walked over to the tent, and from outside of the tent, he says, Assalamu alaykunna ya banati Rasulillah. My salam upon you, O daughters of Rasulullah. My salam upon you, the ladies from inside of the tent. They responded to the call of Habib ibn Malayr. Habib ibn Madahir saw the state of the encampment, saw what they were about to face at the hands of the enemy soldiers, saw what the enemy had asserted that they will do against the followers of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. The day of Ashura arrives. One by one, the companions take permission from Al-Imam Abi Abdullah al-Hussein to go out into the battlefield. One by one, they go out to fight on one side of the army, the side of the army that was led by Muslim ibn Awsaja, the oldest companion of Al-Imam al-Hussein. Some say that he was close to 90 years old, maybe even older than that. In the middle of the fighting, his call came from the battleground, calling out, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. I am calling you, my master, Ya Hussein. I have been struck by the enemy swords. I am falling from my horse. Al-Imam al-Hussein raced out to the battlefield, finding the body of Muslim ibn Awsaja lying on the ground. Habib ibn Madahir, the companion of Imam Hussein, came with him, fell upon the body of Muslim. Imam Hussein and Habib are looking at Muslim as he is taking the last breaths of his life. Habib ibn Madahir, he asks Muslim ibn Awsaja, O Muslim, tell me as you are about to depart, what is your last testimony? Tell me what you want me to do. Muslim ibn Awsaja, he silently only looks towards his master al-Hussein. He says, أوصيك بهذا أن تموت دونه. I give you my last testimony, O Habib. Muslim says to him, O Habib, my only advice, my only testimony to you is to die protecting al-Hussein. Do not allow any harm to come to al-Hussein. Muslim ibn Awsaja departs from this world. Finally, Habib ibn Madahir gets up and goes out to the battlefield, fighting against the enemy soldiers until the sound of him being struck. He falls from his horse to the ground, trying to raise himself up to renew the fighting against the enemy. They surround him from every side. They strike him with their swords, finally severing the head from the body. Imam Hussein, they say, when he reached the body of Habib ibn Madahir, he said, يا حبيب لقد كنت فاضلا تختم القرآن في ليلة. Oh Habib, my companion, you joined me on the battlefield. You were one of the best, the most scholarly, finishing the Quran in one night all by itself. They say Imam Hussein was not able to give the burial to the bodies. Even the body of Habib ibn Madahir, carried all the way to Kufa, used in the propaganda of the enemy. Such was the state of the companions of Al-Imam al-Hussein. One by one, he carried them back to the encampment. until finally standing upon the hill, he called out, هل من ناصر ينصرنا؟ هل من ذاب يذب عن حرم رسول الله؟ هل من موحد يخاف الله فينا؟ الإمام أبي عبد الله الحسين left this world and left the legacy of self-sacrifice for the cause of Allah, for the betterment of humanity, a legacy that we all carry with us. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق الزهراء وأبي اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها، لعن الله ظالميها. اللهم شافي كل مريض، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك يا كريم. اللهم وفقنا لمراضيك وجنبنا معاصيك، وثبت أقدامنا على صراطك المستقيم، وخذ بأيدينا إليك يا أرحم الراحمين، وفرج عنا يا الله فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر، وهو أقرب من ذلك، وافرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين، صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد
وآل
محمد.
عجل الفرج. أحسنتم ما شاء الله.
أحسنت. رحم الله والديك.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Dr. Hazari. I'm going to try to play a video. Just bear with me for a few seconds, please.
بعقبة الأمور فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد نعيم منك عليك يا رب يا رب إنك تدعوني فأغني عنك فتتحبب إليك أتبغض إليك فتتبدد إلي فلا أقبل منك كأنني أتطاول عليك فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الأسباب بيان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حبه بعد علمه والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته. الحمد لله على طول عناته في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق خالق الرزق خالق الأسباب ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له رازق يعادل فلا شبيه يشاكل فلا ظهير يعاضد قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتضرع لعظمته القدماء فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء.
صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
At this point, we have some of our community members are sick, particularly one of them is suffering from COVID. Please keep all those people who are suffering in these difficult times in your duas. In particular, for that individual, I would like to request Dr. Ibrahim Baradaran to say Amma Yujibu 7 times, and please join us in it.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد يا حميد بحق محمد يا عالي بحق علي يا فاطر السماوات والأرض بحق فاطمة يا محسن بحق حسن يا قديم بحق الحسين عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 اللهم صل على
محمد.
Finally, I will request humbly, Dr. Hazari, can you please lead us into the ziyarah to conclude this program?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وحبيبك وصفيك ونبيك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك وعلى علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين وعلى الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وعلى سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي الإمام القائم صاحب العصر والزمان الأمان 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 من زوال الإيمان وفتن الزمان عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والذابين عنه والمسارعين إليه في قضاء حوائجه والمستشهدين بين يديه جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات الله.